Hi there. Day 9, COVID-19 lockdown South Africa. 4th of April. This is the second weekend on lockdown. Our numbers are rising with regard to death as well as cases tested positive. And fear is increasing. And even, those that approached this lightly a few days ago, or I could say a few weeks ago, because, the alarm bells were ringing for quite some time, they are also facing reality. So that's a good sign that, people are aware of this and they're not trying to be heroes in this. In saying that, you know that I refer to a book every day. And I bought this book in 2014. It was one of my airport reads. And of course, everybody knows this book, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. What appeals to me greatly is Eckhart Tolle's simplicity. He doesn't talk about anything fancy. He's very to the point, and neither does he prescribe any doctrine or stick to any religious aspects of this. So I'd like to look at the origin of fear, and that's on page 35 of this edition, where he says, you mentioned fear as being part of our basic underlying emotional pain. How does fear arise? And why is there so much of it in people's lives? And isn't a certain amount of fear just healthy for self-protection? If I didn't have a fear of fire, I might put my hand in it and get burnt. So there's always fear of the unknown, and in this case, we know what's going on, but we fear that it could come our way. I read an article in a paper, or it's more a journal, news kind of thing, by a certain Dr. Joshua A. Gordon. Now, Dr. Gordon talks about coping with coronavirus, managing stress, fear, and anxiety. And he's the director of the National Institute of Mental Health, and this is part of the United States health system. And he focuses on how our lives in many cases have been disrupted. Now, how much worse if you have an illness and you've got to navigate through this? So this actually increases your fear level. And if you have these disorders or whatever they are, whatever your illness is, then this worry and this fear can actually be so all-consuming that you lose direction. And it can result in extreme levels of paranoia, about infections, social distancing, things like that. And, these things are not good for you, really, because you are stressed as it is. I would appeal to you that if you're on treatment, please stick to your treatment. Don't rely on just, self-help things at this point in time. Doctors know what they're doing. And please respect that and, adhere to whatever you're supposed to be doing. Adhere to your routine treatments. By all means, don't give that up, whatever you do. The other thing that, one looks at is depression. And this lack of social engagement actually adds to the stress that comes with depression. Help is available. Look at the NGOs that are offering services online, if you can, and also look at the state health facilities. Remember, our children are very sensitive to uncertainty. And while we as adults are looking at this, just remember that you are their moral compass through this. And they might not show it to you because they're so busy playing and doing all those things, but it is affecting them. Then when I look at the older child who is, probably high school and worried about his or her future. So all these things are affecting our children as well. It's not just us. We need to be there to help them to weather these storms. And if we're not healthy ourselves mentally, we cannot do that. So when you look at the children, if you're living or child-headed households, we're not allowed to go out to them. But please notify, the government services, the non-governmental services that are offering support, and let the social workers and the Department of Social Development in your country know about this. Give them some, idea as to where this crisis is taking place so that these child-headed households can be helped. Fear triggers that you should try to avoid, the news and the chats. Okay, we need to be informed. But you don't have to be obsessively checking the news. The other thing, stick to trustworthy sources. Please check the source before you go out there getting all hysterical about things and reacting to it. Limit how often you check for updates. Step away from the media if you find you're becoming overwhelmed. If it's not doing it for you, just graciously take a step away. Also, if you find that you don't want to do this, so you don't want to know what's happening, but let's face it, we need to know what's happening. So ask someone reliable to provide you with updates, someone that you trust, and someone that you know is not, as we put it, I don't like using this word, but I'm going to have to use it because it's the simplest way to express it. This is no time for getting news from people who are overdramatic, because they will interpret it and relate it in a way that's going to cause you much more stress. It's how they have understood it. They've created their own bits to it, and it's just going to add to your problems more than anything else. When you're sharing, be mindful what you share. Don't just think that, we're all suddenly now becoming journalists. We're not. That's not what we're trained to do. That's not what I'm trained to do. So just be very careful what you put up there. If it's not going to help the group, why put it up? Why do you have to share everything that says, please share? Are you so blindly loyal to your friends on social media or the groups that you belong to that you don't step back to assess what it is? And you have your own mind. Work on that. Now, fear, it's something that's happening now, and it's normal. Please understand that. It is normal. But you need to focus on what you can control, like taking steps to reduce your own risk, right? Wearing gloves. There was a story about the gloves being like little buses, and I agree. Wear a mask. If you can't get the real one, you're not in a hospital, and you just need to wear a mask to go outside to open the gate for some delivery person. Surely you have a scarf that you can tie, and then when you around your nose and your mouth, and when you get back inside, wash that. Don't resort to such extreme measures that you start stressing yourself out. Make them gradual parts of your life, and you find that you will adapt to this. It's not all bad. When I look at some countries, they've been wearing masks for years because they've lived in absolute pollution and things like that. So let's be mindful how we react and how much of paranoia we develop from our fear. We've got the power to restrict it. Unless you are having a disorder, a mental disorder, that needs to be controlled with medication, where your paranoia needs to be controlled, you have the power to control it. So it's only those that are on treatment that need something else to control it. Other than that, you need to take charge. Plan for what you can. Children are out of school, so plan how you're going to get their tuition done, how you're going to assist them at home. You may as well share things about that. That's going to be beneficial. So keep away from things that you cannot change. Change things that you can. Stop the what-ifs from spiraling. Stay connected, but remember that emotions can be contagious. And be wise who you turn to for support. Take care of your body. In all of this, your body is what's going to carry you, and your mind. Help others where you can. It's actually very, very therapeutic. And I'd like to end today with a saying from Ambrose Redmoon, who it's actually a pseudonym for a writer, who was a disabled hippie, a writer, and a manager of rock bands. He was disabled in a major car accident at 33, and he became a great writer thereafter. And his saying on courage is used so often. Courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the judgment that something else is more important than that fear. In saying that, please follow rules. Please be safe. Much love and blessings. And until we meet again, may God forever hold you in the palm of his hands.